All right, everybody, it's 12 noon Eastern, and it's time for Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Alan Howe with Easy Way Systems. Marshall could not be with us because he is somewhere over the western part of the United States flying back from Bozeman, Montana. So we have our special guest and friend who's going to not only co-host, but finish part 2 of his topics from a month ago. And Mr. Greg Kitson from Mind's Eye Graphics. Greg, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, this is always a great time. Enjoy getting together. And I'm really anxious to hear how the first trade show in 16 months was last week that you and Marshall attended. Can you give us a quick update?
Oh, absolutely. So if you missed it last week, Marshall and I were live doing a live podcast at the GPX show in Irving, Texas with our sponsor, Graphic Solutions. And you know what? The podcast was great. It was fun. We've had a little technical difficulties and we're going to work through from the recordings, but they're up. Please listen to them. But Greg, the show for us was incredible. It has been 16 months since we have been there. Attendance was good. From what I'm hearing, it was almost exactly the same as before pandemic. And the interesting part was that show was exactly when the pandemic hit. So they finished day 1, and MBM at that time, Graphics Pro, said, we have to shut down. Thank you for coming. Go home. Right in the middle of the show. So it was interesting that it was that first show again. But Greg, I think what we have learned is how much of not just we're printers, we're suppliers, but you know what? We're a community. Whether you're a competitor, whether you're in sales, whether it's a printer, we are a community. It was great seeing everybody. Printers that I hadn't seen in a while. Competition that I haven't seen. It was awesome seeing them. There were some fist bumps, elbow bumps. There were hugs. There was everything. It was nice to be at dinner and seeing people from the industry and just relaxing. You know, that first night, we're sitting outside and it's myself and Marshall, Mark Soldonic from Graphic Solutions, Nick Wood and Lucas Nielsen from Graphic Source, and it was just nice. Lon Winters and Jason Balish came and joined us. It was just great to be together as a community again, and that's what was so missed.
Oh, I'm sure it was, and I'm going to take that one step further. For me, a lot of those people that you mentioned and many that you didn't, I call family.
Absolutely.
These are people that have been in my life for a long time, and again, competitors. Yep. Friends, vendors, people like you who've moved from vendor to vendor to vendor to vendor.
Yep.
It's a big family. It
is, and it was awesome. Some people that I've talked to on the phone, Brian Richardson from Rock, I've only talked to on the phone. It was great getting to meet him. So awesome. Terry Combs was there. So yeah, it was just good seeing people. I saw Mike Hartbold and Andrew Hartbold from Brown, and yeah, just wonderful. So it was a good time. So that brings us, coming up in a couple weeks, right in almost your backyard, we have GPX Indianapolis coming on the 15th, I believe it is. So I'm going to be there. I know our sponsor, Graphic Solutions, has a booth. Easy Way has a booth. And so we want people to come down. If you need to register, there it is. You can register for free by using that Graphic Solutions code and getting in there. But that's next week, or not next week, but next month, June 15th. It's a little weird. It's in the middle of the week this year. So it's a little different. But we would love for people, if you feel comfortable, come on out and say hey.
Yeah, that's going to be great. It's going to be really interesting to see how the trade show environment evolves over the next 18 months. Because of so many changes and people not knowing when to pull the trigger. And that would be people in hotels and people in travel and convention centers, exhibition managers for the major vendors. They just don't know what to do. Right. So we're going to see a lot of these non-traditional show dates because that's the only place they could shoehorn them in.
They did. Hold on, let me show you something too. And actually, I have this ready. If you didn't see this, GSG made this for Marshall and I, the Q&A with Alan and Marshall mask. So it was cool.
Let's hope that becomes a very, very rare collector's item.
I think
we're not going to need them. Let's hope.
But, what was happening there, no matter what our views are on mask, on vaccination and stuff, I understand the event planners, they have to try to be safe to all the masses. Nobody wants liability. So they were, temperatures had to be taken when you went in, you registered, you got a little sticker that said, I'm fine. It went on your badge, or I put mine on the back of mine. And every day before you went in, that had to happen. Texas, masks were there. Some people wore them. Texas has a different mandate. And I think it's just about being kind to people. If you want to wear a mask, fine, wear it. If you don't want to, I'm not going to judge, But I think every state is going to be different. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think they're trying to do everything they can. Hotels, same thing. I travel. Not all the restaurants were open in hotels. There is a shortage of staff everywhere. So it's just going to be different. And
that's for sure.
Yeah, we have to remember that. We've got some people logging on already. Cindy King says, good morning. She was the first one on. Kim Johnson, saw you at the show. Thank you. Gustav from Sweden, as always. And look at this, all the way from the Dominican Republic, Mr. Alan Singer. How you doing, Alan? Thanks for jumping on. Kim says, Irving was fun. Enjoyed seeing everybody. It was great. Sean from Alpharetta, Georgia says, hi, Alan and Greg. Mark Soldanek, application specialist from Graphic Solutions here. So, Mark, it was good. Just talked to him on the phone a little bit ago. Mark, are you going to be in Indy? Do you know yet? I'm not sure what crew's coming up from GSG. William Mitchell says, hey. Cindy said, had fun watching the live show. I don't know if Marshall told you, but Mark sent me a mask. Love it. I knew that mask was being sent, so I'm glad you got it. So thank you, Cindy. Of course, yours and my good friend, Mr. Richard Greaves from downtown Detroit.
Mr. Greaves, Esquire, welcome.
The Richard Greaves. Eric, how you doing? Our friend Carlos from Sharp Prints in Chicago. Finally, hot weather in Chicago. Yeah, Greg and I were talking about that. It's like 85 here. Same thing in where you're at, Greg, I believe.
Yes, we're just having a beautiful midsummer day.
Uh-huh. When did Alan's name start coming first before Marshall? Actually, it always was. That was Marshall's deal from the beginning. That wasn't me that I know of. So I think it's alphabetical. And when he's not here, I get to do what I want.
Yeah, that's more like what I was figuring. It's yeah. Alan's in charge of the keyboard.
Exactly. Actually, I think it's always been Q&A with Alan Marshall. I may be wrong, though. I really hadn't noticed. Shane says, good morning. And David says, good morning. Thanks for doing this. Our pleasure, David. Thanks for tuning in. And if you guys haven't, make sure you share it with people. If you don't know, we are now not just on live, and you can see us on Facebook and YouTube, but you can go to there, and any RSS feed or podcast like Spotify can be there. I'm not sure if we're on Apple yet. They kind of take their time on adding it, but we've already signed up. So you can listen to the audio part, and those are being uploaded every weekend. So thank you very much. Well, all of that going on, Greg, what's been going on with you? And I'm ready to hear more about what you wish you would have known before you started.
Well, thank you for the handoff. Thank you for the kind words. One thing that I do want to touch on is something that I'm seeing from many, many friends and people in the industry is all of a sudden somebody has reached up and turned the big T-shirt switch in the sky.
Absolutely.
We're getting phone calls every day, emails from customers that are saying, hey, 2 weeks ago, I didn't know whether my event was going to happen, and now it is. I need shirts by Friday.
Yeah.
We gently have to remind them that this is Friday in a lot of instances, because we're getting literally requests for same and next day events. And with the supply side shortages we've got, that's just one of those things that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Hold on just a second. There we go. But the business is good. We, like many other people, are having staffing challenges at the moment, and we're going to continue to as this market evolves. But it's really good that the children's and kids and youth sports are starting to happen, and that people are starting to see a comfort level. So that's the report from the Midwest as we get into this.
We're seeing that all over. It's somebody, and literally within a few days, I remember talking to one company, and I'll say our friends, you know him, Greg, the guys at Sandlot Sports in Saginaw, Michigan. They were telling me one week, yeah, we're okay. Things are going. It's almost like it wants to start. Less than a week later, oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
And it just went nuts like that. So
that's encouraging.
It is
encouraging. Better than the opposite, for sure.
Yeah, better than this time last year where we're going, what the heck is going to happen? Simon Clifford has joined us. So Simon, always good to see you. Thank you. Good. So Greg, should we jump right in on it?
We sure should. And just wanted to, again, thank Marshall and Alan for inviting me to share some of the things that I've learned over my years in the industry. And what we started talking about when they approached me about being a guest was, what do I think I would like to talk about and what people would be interested in hearing? And my favorite subject is what I wish I would have known before I said yes to the first t-shirt job, this crazy industry that we all hate and love at the same time. So that sort of evolved into 10 simple rules for running your business. Many of you have heard me do this either on a consulting gig or at a trade show, or we did a series in Impressions magazine several years ago, 10 months with 10 simple rules. It was an annual thing that we did. So I've distilled that into my 10 rules. We got a little long-winded last time when we met in April, and we only got through the first 2.5, maybe 3. So I'm going to do a real quick summary of those, and then we're going to get into rule number 4.
And Greg, can I interrupt one thing before
Please do.
Start? Let's, I got a little thing for our sponsor that we want to do before we get too far into it. So we want to always thank Graphic Solutions. It has been great having them. And to the Midwest, they're a little new. So here's a little bit about them if you don't know who they are. All right. And we're back. I love that at the end, the right products, right away. That's an incredible saying.
It's what we are doing today.
Absolutely.
When Alan and I were visiting a little bit before we got started, this will be my last side comment. We were talking about supply chain issues and what's going on in this industry. So the right product at the right time is so very important right now.
And and it's not just one company. I mean, I know there's ink supply shortages, and even in the chemical, we're hearing some of our competitors might be a little shy on stuff, and everybody's hitting that, hotels and everything's like that. So we've done pretty well at Easyway, but so we need to be a little kind and a little patient and do what we can. But I think, Greg, too, this is where I've told my clients that, you know what, if you need our product and your one distributor doesn't have it, check your others. You have multiple options. And I think those people are keeping their, not just their A and B supply chains, but their C and Ds.
Yep, we're working our list, that's for sure.
I think we have to. So,
well, if I don't get back on this, we're going to have to go to Greg's visit 3 and 4 here. So I need to start talking.
Let's get on this, and we can go over a little bit. It won't hurt. So
okay. 10 simple rules for running your business. I've distilled this down to the most important things that I wish I would have known before I got into the business. Now, Why build it and then they will come is just a dream. We talked a bit about Kevin Costner and the movie Field of Dreams and how that doesn't always work. If you build it and have a lot of luck and are in the right place at the right time, it might just work. But just building it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to succeed. So these 10 rules and the sub discussions we're going to have all contribute to being a success. And these are the things that I wish I really would have known before I got started. So, number one, money is your most important tool. I get made fun of when I tell people that I've got 10 rules and this is the most important rule, and rule number 2 is the most important rule, and rule number 3 is the most important rule, but they're all so very important to your success. So money is your most important tool. Never run out. You need to do all of these things, which we went into in detail last month in April. And if you missed that, you can always go to Marshall's Consulting YouTube channel and watch these. Alan can give you some more information on that.
Yep.
So again, never run out of money. Time is your most important asset. Again, your most important rule. You never get time back what you expend it. You need to plan for every day to change, which means as soon as you walk in the door or pick up your cell phone and you look at your email, something that you hadn't planned for is happening. So you need to have flexibility in what you're doing with this. So demand value for your time and understand the true cost of your decisions. If I'm going to spend time on Facebook, what am I not doing? So you have to understand what your trade is, because remember, you never get time back. Make sure all the resources you deal with also understand this concept, that you never get time back. And again, rule number 2 is your most important rule. Number 3, if you don't write it down, it's not real. This I consider to be probably my biggest shortfalling when it comes to getting something done. If I don't have 5 different lists on 2 different Outlook calendars with a handful of Post-it notes on my desk wall in front of me, I kind of bog down and I get, it's analysis disaster or paralysis by analysis. I start thinking and thinking, but a simple bullet point list allows me to get things done a lot faster. The written word holds you accountable to everything that you want to plan. If it's a business plan, if it's a plan on how you're going to do a new social media launch, you've got to write it down. If you don't follow through, it won't happen. Here's another big one. If I assign a task to somebody, I can't just tell them to do it. I also have to give them the resources and a timeline and recourse. What is recourse? They have to be able to come back to me and know how to come back to me and say, either it won't work, I don't have enough money to do it, I don't have enough time to do it, or we don't need to do it. I have to be able to hand that off to somebody, and then I can't walk away from it. I can't give Adam, and I'm always going to be talking about Adam. Adam is not really an employee of Mind's Eye Graphics, but Adam is hypothetically our next employee. So that's what all of our procedures are written for, our standard operating procedures. So if you don't follow through, it won't happen, and Adam won't know what to do. Oops, wrong way. Your memory is wrong or convenient. This is an entrepreneur thing. We can lie to ourselves. It's very easy to say, I thought I told you this. Or, well, no, that's not what I said, but that's what I meant. Those types of things. So if you write it down, you don't have to rely on your memory, and you don't have to rely on your memory being wrong. Again, very important, written timelines and benchmarks. I want to be $1 million business. When and why? How am I going to get there? What's my roadmap? If I didn't write things down, nothing would happen. Share the written plan with others and solicit input from your business team. If I say we're going to add a new digital printer, and the reason we're going to do that is we want to improve our cut, print, heat apply capacity, I'm not the one that's going to be doing the print, cut, heat apply. I've got members of my staff, so I've got to talk to them and make sure that they understand what we're going to use this new equipment for and what the expectations are. So we need to solicit input from the business team. And your business team is everybody you deal with. Customers, vendors, your financial team, your staff. And for many of us who are the small independent entrepreneurs that are the backbone of this industry, it's our spouse and our family. We can't decide that we're going to work an extra 40 hours a week when we're already working 70 hours a week. 110 makes nobody happy. Those types of things. So I have to be able to share all of what I want to do so somebody can tell me I'm wrong.
Very good. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to change your plan. This is one of those things. If I'm going to buy that new digital printer, if I'm going to add a new staff artist, or if we're going to start staffing out artwork to an offshore art supplier, how do we do that? My first vision and my first thought probably isn't going to be my final vision. So if I said on day one of a 90-day timetable that we're going to do A, B, C, D, I have to be able to go, well, that didn't work. Now we're going to do B, A, 4, yellow, blue, green. Totally different plan, but we're still doing it to achieve the same thing. So don't be afraid to change your plan. Again, if you don't write it down, it's not real, is one of the most important rules that we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
The written word will hold you accountable. It does.
Absolutely.
Number 4, you must be honest with yourself. Oh, you got some questions.
Yeah, well, not questions. Simon Clifford says, regarding rule number 3, says, I've said it before, the secret to success and accomplishment, thought, word, deed. It's millennia old. It applies to all aspects of life and change.
100% accurate.
Yep.
Now, rule number 4, you must be honest with yourself. Again, I'm talking to that entrepreneurial person who is really just too ignorant of what is involved in their business to know they can't succeed. Sure, I can do that. We've all said that to a customer, probably all too recently, and lost all too much money as we were trying to figure out how to do it and why we shouldn't do it. But you've got to be honest with yourself about what you can accomplish. Very, very important. You can talk yourself into anything. In the 20 minutes between the time I talk to a customer and I go out and ask my production guys how we're going to get this done, it can go from one little order of 100 shirts into hundreds of orders of 100 shirts because my mind is just this huge imagination that I can talk myself into anything. Of course we can do it. So you must be honest with yourself. You can't lie to yourself. And you need people that surround you that can tell you, yes, this is going to work, or no, it's not going to work, or it will work if we make these changes. That's one of the most important statements. Be realistic about your abilities. I know that I can work 36 hours a day. I just know I can. Well, the math doesn't add up. What are my abilities? What is the work-home-life balance that I have to have? And what am I doing to my staff when I pass something off to them? And if I disappoint my customer, many times now, you're not going to get a chance to disappoint a customer the second or third time. They're going to be going someplace else. So be realistic about your abilities. Invest in your strengths. I love this one because it says, if you're a salesperson, sell. If you've got that mentality to sell something, if you can talk people into something, if you can convince them of the benefit analysis and the things that what you're going to do for them are going to make them better, invest in those strengths. If you're an artist, do art. If you're a hands-on type of guy, do the hands-on stuff. Get your fingers in the ink, get your fingers in the screens, get it in the emulsions. Understand what EOM really is and how it affects your ability to deposit ink on the surface of a shirt. So invest in your strengths. We're going to talk more about that later, about hire people to support what you don't do well.
Yep.
Understand and accept your shortcomings. My biggest shortcoming, oh, did I say that already once or twice or 3 times or 12 times? I overestimate my abilities and I underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to do something. I'm chronic about that. You need to do a resource inventory. What resources do you have? Now, a resource can be money, it can be time, it can be a facility, but more often, resource is the most important resources are other people in your business team. It's your banker who can help you out talking about money. Very few of us have an advanced degree in finance and the ability to understand what money really does. But our bankers should have or have access to people that do. It's that production team you have. It's the sales team you have. And what you need to do is sell to their strengths. So, or put things together to their strengths. Do that resource inventory. And utilize your board of directors. Again, I'm going to say board of directors. If you were Ford Motor Company, your board of directors meeting would be near an airport, and there would be a dozen Gulfstreams sitting there that flew the most important people in many different industries in for your board of directors meeting. For many of us entrepreneurs, our board of directors is a little bit simpler. The board of directors at this point actually becomes the team you work with. Again, your banker, your lawyer, your accountant, all of those types of people, your vendors. If I call one of my vendors, if I call Alan, I've got a question for him, he's going to be able to tell me, well, I don't know, but I know a guy who knows a guy who knows. So that's one of my uses of my board of directors. Same way with my customers. It's a lot easier to sell something more to one of my existing customers than it is to go out and create a new relationship. So if I go to one of my top $10 amount customers and say, hey, thanks for the business. What else can we do that you can utilize? How can we be better? And you're going to see your sales grow a lot faster by utilizing those resources. And those board of directors are going to guide you and give you the information you need to succeed on a daily basis. Number 5. Greg, this is one that people get a little confused about. Here's we went back. Let me go back. You must be honest with yourself before you can be honest with Greg Kitson or Marshall Atkinson. I'm going to use Marshall as an example because he's a business coach. You have to be able to be honest with yourself. Greg is going to talk to fill in the blank. I'm going to talk to Marshall, or I'm going to talk to Adam, or I'm going to talk to Doug, or I'm going to talk to Cynthia. Whoever is on my business team, I have to be honest with them. I have to not overestimate my abilities and underestimate my resources. My staff. Here's one that I fall down on. I probably should talk more to my staff about what they are happy doing, what they want to do, and what they can have added to their day that will make life easier. One of the things that I saw on an earlier question and answer with Marshall was they had Justin from Oklahoma Shirt Company on. It is Justin, right? Jason? Justin?
Justin, yes.
Justin
Lawrence.
And he said they had an email address that was simply concerns at Oklahoma Shirt Company that everybody used, and he got all sorts of really basic information from that email address. I need to create something like that, which I haven't done, but I need to go back to my staff and ask them more about what they need or what I can do to help them. My vendors, can I go to a vendor and say, all right, this year I bought X amount of dollars from you. Next year, I want to buy more. What can you do to help me buy more? So if I'm talking to a vendor who's selling me shirts, they're going to start looking at who we're selling to, what we're selling. Are we selling corporate apparel? Are we selling t-shirts? Are we selling uniforms? And then they're going to start talking about how we can grow our business, what their performance bonuses are, all of those types of things. They'll ask, do we have problems with sublimation or bleeding on their uniforms? And if we do, the good people in this industry that are really on top of things can actually tell me what inks I need to print a particular garment with. But I'm not going to get any of that information from my vendors unless I ask. These types of things are what I really wish I would have known in 1980 when I bought that first quart of ink and yard of 10 XX mesh from Scott Fresner. Doesn't seem possible that it could have been that long. So you've got to talk to your vendors and your customers and yourself. Alan, do we have any questions before I go to the next one?
No, we're all caught up. We're good.
Good. So we're moving along nicely here.
Yep. We want to remind everybody this is Q&A, and it doesn't happen without you. But hopefully everybody's taking notes, because this is gold, man.
Right. And if you want the handout of this PowerPoint presentation, all you got to do is email me at that address that Alan gave you earlier, and I'll be happy to send you the PDF of this so you've got all of the information you need. Number 6. Again, this is one of the most important things I'm going to talk about today. Profit is not a dirty word. Too many of us are non-profits just because we're not paying attention to the bottom line. We don't understand the business of decorated apparel. So, and you have to be given permission sometime along the line to actually consider that profit is important to each one of you. You should expect and demand a good ROI. What does this mean? You have to have relationships with customers and vendors that go beyond just a nickel cheaper. If Alan wants to sell me a gallon of stuff and he's a nickel cheaper than the next guy, I need to understand what the value in that relationship is other than just a nickel cheaper. Because that nickel cheaper for the raw material could be costing me fortunes in workflow and efficiency that I don't understand. So oftentimes you have to look at best value. And for me, best value is a combination of they're in stock, they're a fair price for what they're providing, and they always have it. And for most of them, they're next day shipping, because shipping is so expensive. And I want them to inventory the product. I don't want to inventory it. I don't want it in my facility. Just in time is one of the words that are one of the watchwords of my business. And in order to demand a good return on investment on what I do, I need that value relationship from my vendors.
Absolutely.
Plan high, but be realistic. I have been accused by one of my favorite bankers of not setting realistic goals. If I have a new program or a new piece of equipment, I'm looking at doing X amount of dollars. He keeps telling me you should be planning for X plus 10 or X plus 20 or X plus 100 as far as the percent of where I want to be. Because unfortunately, I have a habit of, if I set a goal that I'm going to sell 10,000 units, once I get to the 10,000, I'm satisfied and I move on to something else, when the market might have allowed me to sell 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000.
Yeah. So
plan high. Don't get hooked on meeting every goal, and be happy with some goals that you may only get to 75 or 80 or 85% because you've set them high because you wanted that room for growth. Plan high, but be realistic.
Yep. Got a couple comments here, Greg.
Go.
Ron Goodwin says, I talk to myself all the time. But we know what Ron says. It's a good day, Ron, isn't it?
Oh, it's a good day for Ron. And when he talks to himself, he's just repeating the great things he's heard from other people in the industry because he talks to people.
Absolutely.
Ron is a great friend. I love seeing him at trade shows. I can't wait until I see him get in another trade show. And I'm going to get one of those big trade show hugs you were talking about earlier from Ron.
Absolutely. And if you guys have never met Ron Goodwin, look him up next time you're going to be at a trade show. Ask him if he's going to be there. He's a great guy. Everybody needs to know him. Jim Kosick says, I'd spend a dime more to buy it from Alan. We'll send you a price list right away. So let's go. But thank you.
Hey, Jim, make sure you ask for the payback for that kickback for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll give you Alex Mimosa, my boss's number on that.
Okay.
So good. All right. All right. We're all caught up now, Greg.
Okay. Don't trade dollars unless you have a very, very, very good reason. Everybody wants to do T-shirts for the band that's at the event. You want to print In my day, it was printing for Kiss or printing for the Rolling Stones, all of those types of things.
Yep.
In my day. Oh, good Lord. But right now, it might be printing for the Rolls-Royce dealer or the BMW dealer, or it might be printing for the local sports team. But remember, if you're printing for the World Series winners, you have to have a very good reason to knock down your price. It can't just be because you're going to put on your website that we printed shirts for the World Series winners. You've got to get paid, and it's got to be a reasonable return on your investment. So don't trade dollars. Many of us get sucked into this. The classic for the new decorator or the new business of any kind is you'll get a radio salesman who comes in and says, hey, do you want to be on our radio station? We'd be happy to trade you a $5,000 package for $5,000 worth of t-shirts. Trades can be good, but you have to understand what your costs are. And again, don't give away your profit. Don't trade dollars unless you have a very, very, very good reason. Demand ROI on everything you do. That's repetitive because that's important. And plan to reinvest in new tools and resources. This is one of those things that you have to put down on paper. Oh, you mean like write it down or it's not real?
Absolutely.
I want to have a new automatic press. I want to have a new 12-station, 8-color automatic press with 2 dedicated quartz flashes. Write it down. Make it true. Put together your roadmap to get from point A to point B to point C to the truck backing up to your dock with that new press. But you've got to plan for it. You've got to plan for it. Change is going to happen. Don't let it surprise you. Many of us are guilty of this. Look at the people that in, about 2004, when Scott Fresner showed up with something called DTG printing.
Wow.
At the sparsely attended Minneapolis SGIA show. I believe I have my dates right.
I wasn't at that show, so you're probably right. That's how sparsely attended.
But at that time, nobody thought, oh, this is never going to happen. This DTG thing is never going to happen. We might call that the birth of DTG.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was overpromised and underdelivered, and a lot of people took a bath on that. But it kept re-evolving. Think of what SpaceX is doing right now. What is SpaceX doing? They're blowing up a rocket every week. But they learn something every time. And the rockets that they blew up 10 years ago, they're now resending into space 25 times before they're cycling them out. They're learning. So the same philosophy applies to us. We have to learn how to integrate DTG and print cut heat apply and screen printing and embroidery and direct to film printing and all of those things, because our customers don't give a darn about how it's decorated in most cases. All they're interested in is seeing their idea decorated well at a price they're happy to pay on a garment or a promotional products item. So change is going to happen. Don't let it surprise you. Don't let it surprise you like Kodak let digital photography supply them.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Kodak thought they were in the film business.
Yep.
Because they were making film, and if they sold digital photography, they were no longer going to sell film, so they didn't participate in digital photography. Wrong idea. Wrong idea. So change is going to happen. Don't let it surprise you.
There's a generation now, Greg. Think about it. There's some younger ones out there that have no idea what Kodak is.
Oh, well, no. Kodak is a company that does digital storage media.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we got one comment.
Okay.
Looky here. Mr. Marshall Atkinson says, yo, I'm in the Uber line now. This is strange. Sounding great, Greg.
So, Mr. Atkinson, I've got to ask, do you still have snow on your suitcase from your departure this morning from Montana?
He showed me when I was talking to him this morning. He sent another picture. He said there was 4 inches of snow on their rental car. They had to no scrapers. They were using a credit card. Greg, we've all been done
Oh,
that.
yeah, we've all been there. There's a credit card story you and I will tell someday.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been told on here before, but yeah.
All righty. Rule number 7. Again, one of the most important rules we're going to talk about today. Work smarter, not harder.
Yep.
Many of you have heard me tell the story about you don't get paid for sweat unless you work for Gatorade.
Yeah.
What do I mean by that? Well, if you work for Gatorade, they're going to tape a sensor all over your body. Then they're going to put you on an exercise bike in a 125-degree room, and they're going to make you pedal that bike as fast as you can. And you generate a lot of sweat, and it's soaked up with the sensor sponges, and they analyze what electrolytes you need to have replaced. There you get paid for sweat. You don't get paid for sweat when you stand next to a dryer that's not running efficiently. It's just running too hot and outgassing all of this heat. Or next to an automatic press that is running with 2 flashes and 6 double strokes in it. You don't get paid for all that extra time. So expensive technology is what a lot of people will turn to. But it doesn't necessarily solve the problem. When you make a new investment in a new piece of technology, understand what you're paying for, what you're expecting, and how to use it. This is when you're going to spend X amount of dollars on your new DTGs and then expect a YouTube video to teach you how to use it. Doesn't work. YouTube is great, but remember, everybody's an expert behind a keyboard. You have to understand what's necessary to get your value out of this technology when you buy it. So work smarter, not harder. Look for nickels in everything you do. And this is another one that our friend Mr. Greaves kind of talks about with me is when I go to a trade show, I've been in this industry long enough that we're doing a lot of things that make us very efficient, but I'm still looking for nickels in everything I do. I want to save a nickel every time we answer a phone. I want to save a nickel every time we write an order. I want to save a nickel every time we put tape in a screen or don't put tape in a screen. So every time we have to not touch something, we're going to pick up a nickel. So if I come out of that trade show with a pocket full of nickels because of what I learned that day, and then I take it back to the shop and I use it over and over and over again, $50 worth of nickels every day turns into a real nice investment.
Absolutely.
Every time we handle a screen, every time we pack a shirt, every time we open a box, every time we tape a box. So look for nickels in everything you do. Allison Banholzer did a wonderful presentation with Marshall in the last couple of days that I listened to, where she talked about her black belt experience in continuous improvement. That's another one that you need to make the time to listen to. Allie is a force to be reckoned with in our industry today.
Agreed.
Silver bullets do exist, but they're very rare. What do I mean by a silver bullet? I'm going to show my age here. I'm not talking about werewolves. I'm talking about the Lone Ranger.
Absolutely.
What would happen is the Lone Ranger would come to town and there would be this disaster. The school marm was going to lose her building where she was teaching all these kids how to read and write because of the bad guy. So what would end up happening is somehow the Lone Ranger would get involved and he would fix the problem. And he would fix the problem and the school marm would come in and she would see a little bag of gold dust along with a silver bullet leaning up against it that says the Lone Ranger was there. He fixed the problem by paying the bills so she could still have a place to teach her kids. Those silver bullets are for what a lot of people are looking at in the newest white ink. Oh my, the newest white ink. That's something that we all want. In the newest combination ink remover, emulsion remover product, those types of things. We'll buy them and then we don't understand why it doesn't work the way we think it should. So silver bullets do exist, but they are very, very rare. And right now, I'm going to say the biggest silver bullet we've ever bought for Mind's Eye Graphics was our computer to screen, which we brought in 2006. That still continues to save me tons of money every day. That was a true silver bullet for the screen printing industry. Screen printers are really screen makers. Since this is a screen printing audience, anything you can do to make your screens better or faster or more efficient or more reliable puts money right to the bottom line. Again, one little nickel by not putting a piece of tape on it or not putting 6 different registration marks on it. Why do you really need 6 registration marks that have to be taped off?
Absolutely.
And again, always question why you do things. Why do I put 6 registration marks on every screen? Well, it was because the guy before the guy before the guy before the girl before the guy that owned this business one day had a job that they were having trouble registering, and they decided that, oh, an extra set of registration marks would be a good set thing, and we're going to do it on every screen just because. So what has been going on since then? You've got to tape off 6 registration marks, or you forget to tape them off, and then you get to replace some shirts.
Absolutely.
So always question why you do things.
We got to
utilize your board of directors.
We got a comment. You were talking about white ink, and Marshall commented. He goes, "It's not your ink you need to change." And
who is this Marshall guy anyhow?
I don't know. He has an opinion about everything. And you know what? I agree with that. It's on, I've done a seminar called Printing Better Whites. It's probably not your ink. Everybody looks for that magical ink, and usually it's part of the process that is holding you back. Process.
Yep. That's all of the steps that go into it. And again, we're going to come back to utilize your board of directors.
Yep.
You don't know everything. You can't know everything. You're not expected to know everything, but you're expected to know everyone that can answer all of your questions.
And would you say, Greg, you can't see everything? Another set of eyes.
Oh, another set of eyes, 2 sets of eyes, 3 sets of eyes.
Yep.
And it's one of those things that when people talk about going paperless, procedures in many businesses don't really, in our industry, don't really suit themselves to going paperless because of the procedures of the 2nd set of eyes or the 3rd set of eyes. And the reason is human nature that says, well, if he did it, it must be right. I don't have to check the spelling. I don't have to make sure that volleyball, VOLEYBALL, is spelled right. It just is because he did it right. Change your people or change your what? Again, who is this Marshall guy?
Exactly. Change your people or change your people. I mean, you can either get rid of people and get new ones, or change your way of thinking and train them and set up good SOPs.
Well, now I'm going to come back to something that I said I was going to talk about later, and that's work on your business, not in your business.
Absolutely.
Again, that's what each one of you are doing today by taking some time away, even if you are loading and pulling shirts while you're listening to this, but you're working on your business by listening to other viewpoints, by hearing a conversation. Sometimes A plus B plus C plus D doesn't necessarily equal success because you haven't figured it out yet. But when you hear somebody like Marshall or Alan or any of our visitors say it, Ron Goodman might have said something that all of a sudden make those light bulbs go bang, and they lit, and all of a sudden it makes sense. So that's working on your business, not in your business. A great first step was by attending ISS Education, which is no longer ISS Education, which is the Impressions Expo, and the Printware Show, which is now called what?
Graphics Expo.
Graphic Expo. And all of the amazing educational opportunities, such as Mr. Sudaholek, who I can never pronounce his last name, as Mark S. Soldonic does every week with our friends from GSG. Mark has become a great educator. You need to make time to listen to his tidbits. He's got 3-minute or 4-minute advice items of how to fix a problem. So you can just listen to it and listen to it again and then listen to it again. But Mark is doing a great job with the education that GSG is encouraging him and allowing him to do.
And Greg, GSG has them not just on screen print with Mark, but I've watched them. They have them on embroidery. They have them on digital heat transfer for every industry. So they've become a great resource.
Great. So working on your business, not in your business. Sometimes you just have to stop and just look at what is going on. Just go out into the production area, pull up a table, plop down on it and go, why are we doing this? Why do we lay shirts out on one table and then put them on another table and then flip them over and put them on another table before we print them? Well, because that's how we did it when we printed 1 order a day, not when we printed 10 orders a day. So This is where you can bring your board of directors in. Bring your insurance guy in. Bring your banker in and say, here is what we're doing, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this, and we do this. And when they go, what? Why? Why are you doing that? How are you adding value? Many times that business owner or somebody I've been talking to in a coaching situation will go, I'll get back to you on that. Those types of things. So stop and just look at what is going on. Take your board of directors to lunch. Don't let your banker take you out to lunch. Bring him to your facility. Let him push the print button on that DTG machine so you can make him do the magic. Put a squeegee in his hands. Hold his tie up out of the way so he doesn't get ink all over it. But when you're doing that, take your board of directors to lunch so they understand what your business is so they can help you make the right decisions. Here we go again. If you don't write it down, it's not real.
Yep.
The only way you're going to reach goals is to refine them and re-refine them and re-refine them. Consider a business coach, really. Okay, is Marshall in here yet? Yeah.
We know him.
Yeah, we know him.
We know one.
A business coach or a life coach,
Yep.
You need to have somebody that you can talk to and say, this is what's happening. Those of us that had relationships with business coaches last March fared a lot better than those of us who thought we knew absolutely everything without talking to anybody. If you had somebody that you could talk to, cry on their shoulder, bitch and moan, whatever you want to call it, you were in much better shape to deal with the catastrophe that COVID became than anybody else. So,
Agreed.
a business coach is the type of person that says, hey, last time we talked, we determined that your biggest problem was that brother-in-law of yours who was running your shipping and receiving department. And he was spending most of his time sitting down on Facebook and not getting anything done and then taking a break to go to lunch. You said you were going to fire your brother-in-law. I just looked out in the back and saw he's still here. This is accountability, folks. Somebody to help you do what you need to do, what you know you need to do. Number 9.
Greg, we got a couple comments real quick.
Okay, great.
Mark Soldonic says, I learned a few things over 43 years. Great job today, Greg. And you know what, Greg? I think Mark learned by all of us. You know, you knew me way back when. We all go through that stage where we think we know everything. And then you realize you don't know a darn thing. And you've said it over and over. And Mark has learned, and Marshall's learned, and I've learned. You listen to people who know. And everybody knows more than I do, I think. So.
Well, I met Mark a few years ago, and the one thing that my regret with my relationship with Mark is that I didn't get a chance to ride in the corporate jet when he worked for the company that had one. I was always hoping to be able to do that, but as he's moved from company A to B to C to D, I don't think the corporate jet exists anymore.
I don't know that there's a GSG 1, maybe.
Oh, or 2 or 3 or 4.
Or 2 or 3. I don't think there's that. So anyway, Marshall says, I talk to at least 10 shops a day through the worst of COVID. And as a business coach, I also know Marshall, a lot of those clients had him on hold, as everybody did, and he still stayed in touch with them.
Yeah,
a true coach.
Now, here's one of the biggest things that I wish somebody would have told me before I got into business. Have fun doing what I choose to do.
Absolutely.
Why did I get started in this business? Well, because I was stupid. We've already established that. I didn't know what I didn't know that I couldn't do. But I knew that it was fun. It was really amazing. I could take this pile of stuff and turn it into a finished t-shirt that somebody would pay me for. Now the most fun thing I have is turning a pile of blank shirts into a check. Sounds sort of capitalistic, but that's what I really enjoy doing. So why did you get started in the business? Remember, each one of you got started for a different reason. What really turns you on? Okay, no Snickers on this comment. But what do you do that really turns you on, that goes, oh, wow, I did that. That is a real, true, 100% one-stroke white that didn't take any extra work. That would really turn me on. Or that Photoshop separation that has got memory colors, that has got rhinestones, that has got metallics, and has got 2 different underbases of white and 3 different halftones of black in it that looks 3-dimensional. That would really turn me on. If I'm an artist, I want to take the Photoshop. If I'm a geek, I want to get my fingers in the ink. All of that. Do what you have fun doing. When was the last time you giggled like a little girl? No, not quite like that, Alan, but close.
No, that wasn't
close. When was the last time you giggled? And for me, it was when I opened the back of the truck with my newest sporty press on it. I opened it up and there were all those crates, and I just stood there and giggled like a little girl. This is exciting. This is the end of a project. This is a time to move forward. So that was the last time I giggled. So for me, projects is what I get off on. What would you like to learn to do? If you're an artist and you like what Photoshop can do, but you, like many of us, are using the same 10 actions over and over and over and over and over again, take the time to learn what else Photoshop can do. Make the time to learn what else Photoshop can do. You have to make that choice. Make it happen. Plan for it. So very, very important. Now, I've been on a soapbox this whole last half hour, and we're going to wrap this up pretty quick. But again, make it happen. Plan for it. Have fun doing what you choose to do. Now, that also means hire someone to do what you don't want to.
Yep.
Big thing that I wish somebody would have told me to do when I first got into business. This is one of the most important things that you need to understand. What piles of stuff do you build? In our business, it's always been art approvals. That's what we needed to fix, was we weren't getting art approvals out. Lately, we've been doing art approvals really, really good. But it was just me and 1 or 2 other guys, and I thought I was an artist. That was the type of stuff. Now it's quotes. We need to get somebody that worked better on that. Onboarding new customers. We're trying to get too much out of too few people in our post-COVID environment, and that's one of the things I've been working to change. But what piles of stuff do you build? Because if your piles are those art approvals, if the piles are checking your shirts in, if you get 70 cases of shirts in on your UPS truck that are all going to be printed in 2 days from now, but you don't get those boxes open for 2 days, what's wrong? Oh, they're going to be the wrong color or the wrong size. If you would have found out today, you could have fixed it. 2 days from now, you can't fix it and make your customer happy. So you need to add somebody in your receiving or your shipping department, or you need to refine the workflow. That'll fix a lot of things. But these are the people where you need to consider hiring. You don't get paid until you ask. This is something that I've harped on for years and years and years. I think every custom printer should be 100% cash up front with their customers.
Yep.
You don't get paid until you ask. Once I put Mickey Mouse, I don't print Mickey Mouse, but once you put Mickey Mouse on a shirt, that shirt is a rag or a piece of material that nobody's going to want to buy unless you like Mickey Mouse. So you can't sell that garment to anybody else. So as soon as you defaced or vandalized a blank garment with somebody's artwork, you need to be paid for that, because you're never going to get paid for it if you don't. So you shouldn't be a banker. Entrepreneurs make terrible bosses. I are guilty of that. I have always been guilty of that. I expect people to understand what I mean without me telling them what I mean. And I'm really bad at it. So if you're an entrepreneur, you probably, if your business is growing and successful, you need to hire a people person. You need to hire a marshal to help you decide who your people person is. Give new staff the tools for success. If you bring somebody in and you hire them to fix that shipping and receiving problem, and then make them go do it the same old way, you're setting everybody up for failure. You need to give the new staff member, Adam, remember his name, the tools necessary. Or maybe it might be Eve, Adam and Eve. Funny where those names came from. Must include clear guidelines. In order to be the new shipping and receiving guru, this is what you need to do. This is what I need to provide to you as the owner You must have room to do it. You must have time to do it. You must have storage areas, and you must have a system, which would generally include a computer. It can be as simple as alphabetical. It can be something as very simple as the last number of the work order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. If you don't understand that, talk to Mr. Marshall. But you must have clear guidelines so your people can succeed. And you have to have accountability on both parts. I have to have a timeline. I have to tell people, we want to get this shipping and receiving problem fixed before we get into back to school, or before we get into holiday, or before we get into sorority rush, or whatever your business model is. You've got to have accountability that says this is going to need to be done by now. If either one of you thinks it can't be done, go back to the drawing board, write it down, make changes. You have to have recourse to address failure to achieve goals. This is not working. If you hire somebody to do what you don't want to, you have to give them all of these things for them to be able to succeed. Thank you very much. I'm glad we got finished today, and it is 1 p.m. I ran it right to the edge.
We're fine.
Alan, it's all yours.
Great. Well, we got a couple things I was holding off. Greg, one thing I love the point on always redefine and refine your process. And that's ongoing. That's not just a once or twice. That's kind of an ongoing thing always, correct?
Correct. Because as soon as you fix one thing, the workflow changes. You want to do continuous improvement, which is if you took a process that had 10 steps, you took it down to 9.
Yep.
What's the next thing you want to do? 8. The next thing is 7. The next thing is 6. But in order to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, you may have to temporarily go 10, 9, 8, 10, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7 to make those gains. You've got to consider options.
Absolutely. Got a couple comments. David Aronson says, I want to post these on my office wall as a reminder. Can we see your list of 1 to 10?
David, email me and I will send you the poster size PDF.
And it is right there. So we have that. Marshall says, fingers into ink. Great way to see how wet on wet ink will blend on the shirt. Be open to give up control. Train people to avoid the mother may I syndrome. And that's where you're going to one person for every decision.
I'm the boss because I don't share information.
Yep.
Bad business model.
Very bad. Clarity on expectations is critical in all areas in your business, including your own. Ron Goodwin says we get paid 100% upfront online using Swipe Simple.
Way to go, Mr. Goodwin.
Absolutely. Why are we not surprised? All mistakes are training issues. And that's important. You know, mistakes are going to happen. Problems are going to happen. Using it as a training, analyze it, make sure it doesn't happen again, or what can you do?
Oh, I've heard dozens of people say this, but after all, it's just a T-shirt. Nobody's going to die.
Yeah, it's not life and death.
We're not flying an evacuation helicopter here, folks.
Yep.
So if you make a mistake, learn from it, make sure everybody else learns from it, and move on. Don't dwell on it.
That's right.
Oh, we do have our checklist, don't we? Let's bring Allison back into the conversation.
I was going to say, Allie Banholzer, that is my favorite thing from her. You have your checklist, don't you? And if you don't know about the checklist, go back when she was on our show on March 26th. Go back and watch that. She talks about the checklist. Marshall says, of course, you have your checklist. Number one most needed tool in any shop, a calendar. David says, very awesome as usual. Thank you. Mark Soldonic, right there. It's better to fail in originality than succeed in imitation. Dave Edgar says, great points. John Boderiff, John's from Richmond, Indiana. Greg, in case you don't know.
Yeah, we need to touch base.
Yeah.
Just, if nothing else, just drive up one day and say hello.
Indianapolis show, GPX would be a great one. Ron Goodwood, thank you, Mr. Kitson. And, of course, our host that's away, looking good today, guys. Enjoyed it from this end. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you for your help on getting it done. So, Greg, we made it through.
We are done.
Always amazing. So everybody, I want to thank you again for joining in. Always remember, share this. If you need to go see these again, all of them are up on YouTube. We have, you can also go to our, any podcast and get them. And we're going to have those all on audio. Let's see. We got a couple more. Simon Clifford says, great show. Michael Woolbright, thanks for the nickels. You know what? We had a thing when I worked for a different company. One of our managers always said, crumbs make pies. So you want to keep picking up nickels. So that was awesome. A couple things. Don't forget about the Women's Nexus from Shirt Lab coming up on there June 5th. If you want to sign up for that, that's going to be incredible. You don't have to be a woman in business, but if you are, have you know, it would be something to be a great part of that. Allie Banholzer, we've talked about her. She will be there. Marsha Derryberry, Michelle Moxley. It's going to be an incredible event. This is our podcast, and I think we're done. And if you need to get a hold of Greg, right there is his email. And Mr.
I've already had a couple of emails pop in from some of my friends that have attended, so we'll get those followed up on.
Thank you very much. And we want to thank our sponsor again, Graphic Solutions Group. They will be at Indy. If you want to check them out, go to gogsg.com. And thank you, everybody, for attending. Greg, hang on there. And everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next week, May 28th. We're going to have Andy Rudman from Shirt Kong. He is also the co-host of The Shirt Show. So looking forward to having Andy on next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Happy T-shirting.